After losing his father, a young man meets a detective Pikachu, and together they will need to fight Charizard and the legendary Mewtwo to unravel the mystery of this terrible loss. Today we will recap the story of Detective Pikachu from 2019. After realizing that his father Harry paid more attention to Pokémons than he did in his own kid, Tim developed an aversion to both the little monsters and his own father, moving to live with his grandmother after his mother's death. As an adult, Tim was still estranged from his father, but upon discovering that he was involved in an accident where he lost his life along with his partner, the boy takes a train and decides to go to Raimi City, a city where Pokémon and humans used to live together. Upon arriving there, Tim goes straight to the police department where he finds Lieutenant Yoshida, his father's boss who worked as a detective. After a brief conversation with the policeman, Tim takes the keys to Harry's apartment and decides to go there for a moment of mourning, but as soon as he arrives at the building the boy finds a Psyduck and Lucy, an intern reporter who is sure that the accident was actually caused by someone. According to her, Harry was investigating something extremely serious when suddenly this accident happened, but despite being something really suspicious, she still doesn't have any evidence and is trying to gather information to make her report. As he just wants to be alone for a moment, Tim totally ignores everything she says and goes to his father's apartment. Upon arriving at the place, the boy finds a folder with an article about an ancestral Mew along with a small vial with an R written in it, and when moving the object a large amount of a purple gas begins to be expelled, almost suffocating the boy. In order not to be asphyxiated, Tim opens the window and points the vial out, throwing the smoke at some apoms that were in the apartment's emergency exit, leaving them completely out of control. After getting rid of all the gas, Tim starts walking around the place while reminiscing about his childhood, but he starts hearing strange sounds in the apartment and realizes that there is someone else there with him. As he walks around the house threatening the invader with his powerful stapler, the boy realizes that it was actually a Pikachu who invaded the house. More relaxed, Tim tries to scare the Pokémon away, but quickly realizes that he can understand everything the little creature is saying, something totally out of the ordinary. Despite not fully understanding what is happening, the boy doesn't even have time to panic. The now fully crazy apoms enter the apartment and begin attacking them, starting a chase. Cornered, the duo go to the terrace and start running across the roofs of the buildings, managing to escape through the garbage pipe. After the chase, Tim and Pikachu start talking until the boy discovers that this is actually his dad's partner Pokémon. After the discovery, they go to a bar and their Pikachu tells his story. After the accident he woke up completely with no memory, and when he found Harry's name and address on his hat, he decided to go there where he found Tim, so the Pokémon's goal is to find the detective and recover his memories. After Tim tells him about his father's death, Pikachu says that this can't be true because in addition to not finding the body, the report also said that his partner also lost his life, but as we can see Pikachu is more alive than ever. Wanting to unravel this mystery, the Pokémon starts looking for clues, making a real mess in the apartment. In the middle of his investigation, the little detective finds the vial of purple gas that Tim threw in the trash the day before and says that that is the R serum, in addition to saying that he smelled the same in the apom the day before. With this, he assumes that Harry has unraveled the mystery behind this substance and some crime boss faked his death to get him out of circulation. With that assumption, Tim remembers Lucy and decides to go to her to try to get some sort of help. Seeing the vial in the boy's hand, the intern immediately takes him to a more private place where she shows some other vials and says that Harry had an informant near the port who could talk about the serum. With that clue, the pair of investigators head to the docks where they find a Mr. Mime, an informant for Harry. After an unconventional interrogation, after all the animal only communicates by mime, Tim discovers that there is a man nearby who sells the serum and decides to go there to investigate. Upon arriving at the place, they come across an underground stadium where illegal Pokémon's battles take place. As they try to come up with a plan to find the seller, a strange man sees Pikachu and starts yelling at them asking where Harry is. According to this guy, the last time they went there Pikachu fought his Charizard and won the fight, leaving a big scar on the dragon's face. Wanting to avoid problems, Tim asks some questions about Harry, but the man says he will only answer the questions if he has his revenge, and without options the boy accepts to participate in the battle. However, during the preparation, he sees the stranger giving the serum to Charizard to sniff, leaving him totally out of control. The fire dragon makes the first attack, but ends up getting its head stuck when Pikachu manages to dodge it. The little electric Pokémon then takes advantage of the gap to attack, but to its bad luck, along with the loss of memory, it also forgot how to use its powers. Charizard then breaks free and starts spitting fire towards his rival, giving him a headbutt that sends him flying to the other side of the arena. With Pikachu about to be eliminated, Tim enters the ring and starts stepping on the gigantic Pokémon's tail to try and distract it, But it definitely wasn't a good idea. Now the fire monster is about to roast him. Taking advantage of the distraction, Pikachu jumps on Charizard's head, which starts trying to fly away. The fire Pokemon's trainer then enters the arena to interfere, but is knocked to the ground by Tim and bursts all the vials of the serum that are in his coat, causing purple gas to spread throughout the place and causing a real mess among the Pokemons that inhaled. In the midst of all the chaos, Tim threatens the seller and he tells everything he knows. Harry was trying to find out who manufactured the substance and the seller said he got his stock from a doctor from a top-secret laboratory. Still needing to face Charizard, Pikachu picks up a Magikarp and throws it towards the enemy, causing the aquatic Pokemon to evolve into a Gyarados, a gigantic sea serpent that throws everyone out with a jet of water. With all this confusion, the police were called and Tim was taken to the department. Upon arriving there, the boy tries to convince Lieutenant Yoshida that his father is still alive, arguing that if Pikachu made it, Harry could have survived too, but the policeman shows him the footage of the accident saying that no one could have stayed alive afterward. A rollover like that. Convinced that his father is gone for good, Tim starts to vent to Pikachu, but they are interrupted by a strange woman who leads them to Howard Clifford, the founder of Rhyme City. At the office, the billionaire reveals that Harry was investigating the serum for him, and that during the investigation the detective discovered that the person behind this gas is actually his own son, Roger Clifford. On top of all that, Howard uses a kind of holographic image to show Tim the crash footage where we can clearly see that a Mewtwo erased Pikachu's memories and took Harry's body after the rollover. With this new information, Tim is sure that his father is alive and that by finding Mewtwo he will also find his dad. In addition to having gotten the information that Roger has something to do with this case. The boy then contacts Lucy to see what she can find out about the millionaire, and during her investigations the girl discovers the existence of a laboratory for genetic research on Pokémon that is funded by the Clifford Company, of which Roger is the president. In addition to all this information, Lucy also finds out that the day Harry disappeared, there was an accident report in this lab and it has been closed since then. Together they head to the facility to investigate, but are detected by security cameras, alerting Roger of their presence. As they explore the place, they find several Pokémon being held captive to be guinea pigs for sick experiments. Lucy then stays behind to document the whole thing for her story, while Tim moves forward looking for clues as to where to find Mewtwo. However, Roger releases the modified Pokémon that attacked the intern and her Psyduck. At the research center, Tim finds the doctor's computer that sold the serum to the gym salesman, and on the device he finds the daily records recorded by her in the form of a hologram. When watching the recordings, the boy discovers that Mewtwo was captured by his father and kept in the laboratory for the R serum to be extracted from him. In addition, he discovers that on the day of the accident something went wrong with the security system and Mew managed to escape. With this information, Pikachu assumes that Harry was working for Roger and Mewtwo attacked and captured him in revenge. After the findings, Tim returns to Lucy so they can get out of there, but realizes she's been trapped by a Greninja's bizarre tongue. The boy then activates the fire alarm of the place that starts spouting a real wall of carbon dioxide that knocks the girl down along with the Pokémon. They then start running from the location while being chased by the Greninjas. Outside, the Psyduck gets at the limit of its headache and unleashes its powerful psychic power, causing a shockwave that knocks its pursuers away. But to their misfortune, the blow also awakens some Torterras who were modified by Roger. It turns out that the place where they're stepping is actually the hull of one of those gigantic Torterras. And because of that, when the colossal Pokémon gets up, the entire forest starts to collapse on top of them, knocking them into the water from a gigantic height. With the fall, Pikachu ends up injured and loses consciousness, until suddenly dozens of Bulbasaur appear and guide them to Mewtwo who manages to heal him with extreme ease. After that, the legendary Pokémon begins to show the boy what happened on the day of the accident, revealing that it was Pikachu himself who damaged the laboratory's security system and took Harry to him, but the memories are interrupted when some drones appear behind Mewtwo and start electrocuting him, taking him to Roger's containment truck. Saddened to have betrayed Harry, Pikachu abandons his partner and begins to wander alone until he arrives at the crash site. While observing the place, he finds some Greninja stars, and with that he realizes that Mewtwo was actually trying to protect them from the other Pokémon sent by Roger. But when he wonders how Howard couldn't see this in his holograms, he comes to the conclusion that whoever is behind all this is actually the father, not the son. Knowing that Tim will head straight for the villain, Pikachu starts running to him to save him. In downtown Rhyme City, a huge party celebrating the friendship between humans and Pokémon is taking place, and Lucy has decided to use coverage of the event to try to get the word out about everything she's learned about Roger's research. Not far from there, Tim finally arrives at Howard's office and sees in the billionaire's head the same device he had seen in the doctor's holograms, making him realize that the businessman had been using this whole time. At that moment, the imprisoned Mewtwo comes out of the ground and is contaminated with the R serum, and soon after, has its body invaded by Howard's mind thanks to the neural link that the two are using. He then takes advantage of his newfound powers to immobilize Tim and throws him away, causing him to pass out. That was the billionaire's plan all along, to possess the Pokemon's body and then use its psychic powers to transfer other people's minds into their respective critters, as if they were an evolution of humans. It turns out that Harry was hired by Howard to capture Mewtwo, but suspecting that something was amiss, the detective began to investigate the serum and made it to the lab, where he discovered they were using the Pokemon he had captured for this sick experiment. Believing what they were doing was wrong, Harry and Pikachu freed Mewtwo, who as a way of returning the favor tried to save them from the Greninjas Howard had sent after them, resulting in the accident. In the middle of the event, Lucy tries to talk to the mayor and warn him about what is happening, but he completely ignores her. Meanwhile, in Howard's office, he finally takes to the streets with Mewtwo's body and pops all the festival balloons that are full of R serum, leaving the Pokemons completely out of control. Additionally, he uses his newfound powers to put his plan into action and puts all humans inside his infected Pokemons. At that moment, Pikachu finally arrives in the city and finds Lucy inside the body of the Psyduck, who explains everything that happened. He immediately climbs onto the balloons and starts blasting them with his powers. Noticing this, Howard in Mewtwo's body charges at him, but Pikachu uses his tail to throw a sphere of electricity at the psychic Pokemon's blow, causing a shockwave that knocks it away. At the top of the Clifford building, Tim finally regains consciousness, and when he sees Pikachu flying in a Pidgeotto trying to escape Mewtwo, he has the idea of taking the neural link out of Howard's head, thus ending the mental connection between the businessman and the Pokemon. However, Roger falls out of the closet, totally gagged. Howard kept his own son locked up and put a Ditto to transform into him and maintain the villainous appearance all this time. Now that Tim has discovered all these secrets, the Pokemon starts to mutate madly until it takes on the form of Lucy with totally weird eyes and starts fighting him. In the air, Pidgeotto passes through the gas R and ends up inhaling the substance, going completely crazy and knocking Pikachu on the terrace, causing him to pass out on impact. At Clifford's headquarters, Roger tries to break free as Ditto transforms into a Machamp and nearly knocks Tim off the building with a single punch. He then transforms into a Cubone and starts hitting the boy with the bones, trying to knock him down, but at that moment Howard's son manages to break free and lands a blow on Ditto that knocks him off the top of the building. Roger then takes advantage of the moment to save Tim, but soon the Ditto returns and lands a blow on the businessman, who hits his head, passing out in the process. The Pokemon then transforms into a Charizard and starts attacking Tim, who defends himself by intoxicating him with the R serum, leaving his transformations totally out of control and making him turn into a jelly. At the same time, Pikachu regains consciousness and uses its powerful thunder to hit Mewtwo, that ends up thrown against the building. After recovering from the blow, the psychic Pokemon returns to fight and grabs Pikachu by the skin of its neck while humiliating it for its futile efforts, but Tim takes advantage of Howard's distraction to snap the neural link out of its head, causing him to return to his original body. At that moment, Mewtwo loses consciousness and begins to fall along with Pikachu. However, he manages to recover and uses his telekinesis powers to stop the electric Pokemon's fall before it hits the ground. With all of Howard's plans thwarted, Mewtwo uses his powers to repair everything the billionaire has done and return people to their bodies. With that, Lucy is promoted to journalist and is given the responsibility of doing a story telling about everything that happened. At the same time, Mewtwo appears to Tim and shows him what really happened. After the accident, Pikachu offered his body to save Harry's mind, so the detective's consciousness stayed inside Pikachu all this time while Mewtwo took care of the body. That's why Tim was able to understand the electric Pokemon. He is actually his father. With this revelation, the psychic Pokemon uses its power to undo the exchange, returning Harry's mind to its original body, bringing Tim back to his father.